Nelson Mandela said, if you speak to a man in a language that he understands, it goes to his head. But if you speak to him in his own language, it goes to his heart. What is the meaning of the mother tongue? What we generally call in Cameroon Pidgin English country talk, or in French, la langue maternelle. And how can we use sign language as a mother tongue to promote an inclusive society for people with hearing impairment? Thanks for joining me in. I am Brenda Musoro. UNESCO considers our language as an important aspect of our culture and our identity, which portrays our values and our knowledge. In simple terms, we can just say our mother tongue, it's a language that we can use to express our emotions, our feelings, our ideas clearly. When I was a child, I just discovered that I could speak my mother tongue, called the Mita language, which is a language that is spoken by my parents. Both of my parents are Mita, so I was able to speak it as a child. I believe I was able to just acquire it by hearing my parents speak and hearing my siblings speak, hearing my uncles and aunties speak. And I believe that's how I learned the language. And when I was of school age, I had to go to school, and in school we learn English and French, and so I started learning how to read and write in English and French, of course. But back home we speak the Mita. Unfortunately, we didn't learn how to write Mita at the time or read Mita. We could only speak it. And sometimes I wonder which of them is really my mother tongue. Which of them? Is it Mita? Is it English? Is it French? And I'm even forgetting one, the Pidgin English. Which of them? Those are the languages that I grew up hearing, languages that I acquired from my surrounding. And I don't know which of them. I believe this is not just a concern for me, but it's for many other Cameroonians and maybe Africans or people who are in multilingual environments. I believe that is your greatest concern. With these so many languages, sometimes we have people that have intermarried between different language groups. Sometimes you have like one person or one child having different, like 4 different or 5 different language groups, because probably the dad is from one language group, the mom is from one language group, maybe the grandmother is from another, my mother is Mita, my father is Bambileke, the great-grandfather is Bassa, and so on. So you see, it becomes complicated for the child to actually know which language to learn. So at the end of the day, they don't learn any of their local language. They'll rather learn either English or French, which is the official language. But my concern for today, it's not really for people who can hear. It's actually for people who cannot hear, people who are deaf or people with hearing impairment. Because when I read the theme for this year's International Mother Language Day, which is promoting inclusive education and inclusive society, what came to my mind was, I just thought about the deaf people, or the people with hearing impairment. And I really thought about them because sometimes they are really forgotten. And when we talk about inclusiveness, usually talking about the people that are marginalized, the people that are forgotten. And I thought it would be important to talk about what to do about them. Statistics show that 90% of children with hearing impairment are born to parents who can hear. But unfortunately, it's only 10% of these parents that get to learn the sign language. If at the family level there is already this gap, what more of the society? So my concern today is really about what can you do in order to make the society more inclusive for these people who cannot hear, these people who have difficulty in hearing. What can we do? I know some of you may say, oh no, I cannot just go to learn sign language. Yeah, you might not be able to learn the entire language, but you will learn a few words, a few signs that will make these people feel more loved, that will make them feel wanted. So I came up with 3 things that we can do in order to make our society more inclusive or more friendly to these our brothers and sisters who have hearing problem or who cannot hear. So there are 3 things that I would like to share with you today. The first thing that I would like to share with you is education. Let us educate these children. You know, most of the times in Cameroon, we see that these children are neglected. Some of their parents feel that maybe it's a waste of time to educate a child that cannot hear. But we've seen in the society, we've seen many top people in the society that are doing well, although they have this disability, but that has not limited them because they've gone a step further to do something. So it's very important to educate these children. Just to give you an example, I know of this deaf child. He goes to school, a school that every other child goes to, not a school just for deaf people, a school for people who can also hear as well, a lycée, let me just say that. So in the last GCE, he had 9 papers and he had 5 A's. 5 A's. He's sitting in the class with people who can hear, but he has 5 A's. I believe there were even some people in that class who didn't even pass the GCE, but he made it. Had it been the parents had just said, oh no, this is a waste, where are we going with this child? What could have happened? You won't be able to see the potentials of these children. They have dreams. I remember asking him, what are your dreams? What would you like to be? He told me he knows that he wants to be a very important person. He wants to be a director of a company. Of course, he can do it. And I encouraged him. So please, parents, guardians, and friends, well-wishers, educate these children. Give them a chance. Every child deserves to have a chance to be educated. Of course, we know that's the best gift we can ever give our children, is to educate them. So leave no one out, including children with hearing impairment. The second thing that we can do in order to make the world a better place for these people with hearing impairment or these deaf children is not to isolate them. Sometimes we are fond of isolating them. Imagine yourself in a prison cell. Okay, I'm not saying you're in a prison cell. Okay, imagine a prisoner. Imagine someone in a prison cell, or all of you are in a prison, and then one of you or one person has to be taken to be isolated somewhere. It feels like hell. It's already too difficult to be in a world where you see people laughing, they are happy, they can hear wonderful songs, and you are not even able to hear a thing. It's quite frustrating already. So let's not make it too difficult for them by isolating them. Let's give them a chance. Let's create social gatherings, especially among themselves. Let them meet with other friends who cannot hear and socialize. Because when you isolate them, I know some people, when you ask them, what do you think about the deaf child? So people always feel like they are children that are retarded. Why do you think that they are retarded? Blame it on the guardians or on the parents because they've isolated these children. It's but normal. If a child who can hear, or if you, even as an adult, you're being isolated somewhere for a very long time, being cut off from humanity or from relating with others, it's but normal that you are not going to relate well with people once you are out of the place. You will need some rehabilitation services to bring you back to normal, because you cannot behave normally. That's why sometimes people feel deaf children are not normal and all that. Is because their parents, their guardians isolate them. So please, parents, let's not isolate them. They need love, they need social life, just like you and I. So the third thing I would like us to do in order to make an inclusive environment or society for these people with hearing impairment is to learn their language. This is very important, especially people who are working in the educational sector, the people who are working in the hospitals, people who are in public offices where you receive people from all walks of life, people with different disabilities. You're definitely gonna receive people who cannot hear, and you will need to do a few signs. Once you do that, it makes them feel loved, it makes them feel accepted. It takes away some feelings of marginalization on them. It makes them feel important, even if you cannot do the entire sign language, but just the fact that you're able to greet them, or show it shows some concern. So let's learn a few signs so that we can relate with these our brothers and sisters. Okay, so those are the three things that I saw that it would be important for me to share with you today as concerns language, as concerns sign language, because sign language is the mother tongue. It's the mother tongue of the deaf people. It's very important. So in order to make the world a better place, it's important for us to start doing something about it. I'm sure at the end of the day, we'll make the world a better place. So if you enjoyed this video, I would like to invite you to give me a thumbs up, and down in the comment below, I'd like you to say something. What do you think about the sign language, and what are some other ways that we can be able to use to make the world a better place for these our deaf brothers and sisters? So don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time. Thank you. Bye bye.